While South Africa's bilateral relationship with the United States has taken a severe knock since President Donald Trump's return to the White House in January, Washington's lack of engagement at the highest levels of Pretoria's G20 presidency has also been notable.
South Africa shouldn't even be in the G's anymore, because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told him I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio on X in February criticized South Africa for using the G20 to promote solidarity, equality and sustainability, while the U.S. Treasury Secretary gave a preview of America's leadership of the group.
The U.S. is back on the international stage as a leader. We have whittled down the G20 back to basics. We are making it work for the American people better than ever. We have the G20 had become basically the G100 this past year. So it will be a concentrated group in Miami, seeing the best America has to offer with American leadership, thanks to President Trump.
Excellencies.
Or the State Department official at the South Africa-hosted G20 foreign ministers meeting on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly this September.
Instead of elevating urgent global economic matters through a consensus-based approach, the G20 has become entangled in debates over every political wedge issue of the day, whether on gender-responsive budgeting, nation building, or pandemic surveillance. Let me be clear. Expanding the G20's scope in this way does not strengthen the forum. It dilutes it and undermines our ability to deliver on our most basic responsibilities.
U.S. positions we put to this economist who warned of the detrimental impacts of Washington's position on the bloc.
It will be diminished in the G20. But I think we have to remember the G20 is just one of many groupings. And G20 can be useful if it is a forum to project wider interests and to generate cooperation across countries. I think G20 is not useful if it does not do that, if it's just an expression of power among some of the larger countries. G7 was basically that, which is why it stopped being useful a very long time ago. G20, the real use of it, the dramatic, shall we say, expression of its usefulness happened really after the global financial crisis, when there was a coordinated effort. Since then, we haven't seen that much. I think the presidencies of the developing countries really did seek to bring that agenda forward by adding many more things that are of importance to the global majority.
The U.S. presidency follows that of 4 countries from the global south: Indonesia, India, Brazil and South Africa, where development concepts aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals have been a central peg.
What does this mean for the G20 next year? That we have to think of it as possibly, one of those years that you have to blank out, that you have to go imagining that it didn't happen. It does not mean that initiatives brought in this year and also by the Brazilian and South African presidencies over the past couple of years will disappear, because you have other countries, most of the other G20 countries and coalitions of other countries willing to take that agenda forward. So increasingly, the world has learned, if you like, to swim around the big fish. And I think that's going to happen also with a lot of the initiatives that are seen as part of G20, but are often go beyond G20 or just are a subset of some G20 countries.
Professor Ghosh warned of broader G20 relevance for the bloc to abandon issues relevant to most of humanity.
The more G20 seeks to, as you say, whittle down, pare down, focus, concentrate on the issues that are of interest to large capital based in the north, the more irrelevant it will become for both the global economy and for global geopolitics. So yes, they are free to do that. And G20 presidents have significant power in determining the agenda and the outcomes of the process during that year. But doing that actually has consequences. And those consequences would be much less relevance in the world.
President Trump will host next year's Leaders Summit at his Doral Golf Club near Miami. What's clear is that once the leadership mantle shifts to Washington, there will be a new sheriff in town. and a shift to what the US calls a return to basics, a recentering of the G20 to what the United States views as its core economic mission, and not to engage in what it describes as out-of-touch social initiatives disconnected from growth and stability, a return to the G20's founding mandate, which Professor Ghosh warns could lead to the bloc's growing irrelevance. Shervin Briceby's SABC News, New York.